how's it going everyone? Sai back in another video here. Today we're going to be going over the 7.3 Retribution Paladin PvP guide. We'll be going over all of our abilities, what changes came to them within 7.3, our rotation, our spec, our talents, and our honor talents. We'll also be discussing little tips and tricks and the role of the Ret Pally. How has it changed from 7.25 to the 7.3 Argus scenario? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Now, to understand how to play a Ret Pally, we need to understand the Ret Paladin's role within the PvP scenario. Now, with our damage being buffed, we are a hard-hitting melee fighter, but our mobility is still slow. So, what's the other plus side to us? Our support. We are a great support fighter, We can bring up our blessings, whether it be blessing of protection, blessing of freedom, our greater blessings, lay of hands, blessing of sanctuary. We're just blessing everyone. If, say, your buddy is in there being slowed by those pesky mages, blessing of freedom onto him. And that way, he's able to run free, be able to get away from people, and it's just a lot of help. They get trained by warriors. Blessing of protection. No more damage coming through, except for that pesky fire damage from their artifact weapon. But that's beside the point. So we have a huge role as being a support DPS hybrid. So go into a PvP scenario not only looking to top charts, but look to how you can help your team. If you're helping the rest of your team survive, they're helping you kick that ass. Get it? Got it. Alright, let's move on. Now, let's begin with our talents and the build that most likely will be going forth with the Ret Pally. Now, if you've seen the 7.25, nothing is really changing for us here. We are still running the Final Verdict, Zeal, Fist of Justice, Blade of Wrath, Justicar's Vengeance, Divine Intervention, and Divine Purpose. Now, the few things that have changed within this patch is Execution Sense has seen a massive damage increase. As you can see here, it's saying 1.1 mil holy damage base. That does get nerfed within the PvP scenario, but the difference between Execution Sense and Templar's Verdict with Final Verdict, Execution Sense is still doing around 80,000 more damage. And setting up tricks with Execution Sense, send up that surprise burst because it can hit the same time you hit with Templar's Verdict, dealing a stacking damage scenario that can surprise people can be really interesting. But for the most part, it can be dispelled and purged, so most people still won't take it, and it's I believe for me it's 5.2 seconds, could be less, could be more for people, depending on gear within the PvP scenario. So having to wait that 5 seconds at any given time could make or break you killing someone. 5 seconds for a healer to realize someone's about to die, and that's what you're relying on. You really don't want that. So Final Verdict, using Templar's Verdict, is most likely going to be your go-to scenario. Zeal is still maximizing that AoE damage. Fires of Justice, no changes have come, but 15% increased damage still adds that next damaging move having the potential of requiring one less holy power. Greater Judgment, still the same thing. Your Judgment abilities hits 2 additional enemies. Critical strike if they're above 50% health. Now, Fist of Justice, still our go-to. Each holy power spent reduces your stun by 2.5 seconds. You can take Blinding Light if you're looking for that AoE day scenario within BGs, but generally you're going to be looking to kill a target, and if you get a bunch of lucky procs, you're going to get your stun up faster to lock them down to get your burst out. Now, here's something that I want to test, but for now, I believe Blade of Wrath is still your go-to move because you do have the chance for it to reset, which means more holy power, which means more spenders, as well as if you're speccing into the honor talent, it's going to give you a on-demand slow. So that's going to be a really big deal since our mobility didn't get touched. Divine Hammer, I believe it got a slight buff as well, so expect your AoE damage to be raising up just a bit if you do choose to use Divine Hammer. Virtue's Blade being 3 times the normal damage when you crit with Blade of Justice, I want to see how hard it can hit. I've had some Blade of Justices smack for, you know, over 1,000,000 damage, so seeing a 1.5 or 1.6 mil from a Blade of Justice could be pretty cool, but I'd rather get that reset. Eye for an Eye is still really, really good. They buffed the damage in which it does, so people need to think twice when they swing at you when you have Eye for an Eye. Used to be, this is a nuisance, I don't want to get hit by that damage. Now they're going to be saying, I really don't want to get hit by that damage. Word of Glory is still not used. It heals you. 1 minute charge, 2 charges. I mean, it still costs 3 holy power. That's the thing. You'll be spending your damage to heal yourself. Really not that great, especially on a 2 charge. Justicar's Vengeance is your go-to. 5 holy power, and you can use those Divine Purpose procs for those free swings. Justicar's Vengeance did get buffed with the patch, so it is smacking pretty dang hard. You know, chaining 1.1, 1.2 million crits with it and getting all that health back is pretty damn sweet, if I can say so myself. Divine Intervention is still amazing. That 20% heal on an auto bubble cannot occur while Divine Shield is on cooldown or Forbearance is active, of course. Cavalier, definitely going to take that when you have those mobility issues. We're looking at you mages. Judgment of Light, yeah, we don't use it. Divine Purpose, still our go-to, I believe. Crusade is pretty strong if you can stick on a target, but they did recently nerf our artifact weapon to where we are no longer getting 2.5 seconds additional per point. It's only getting 2 seconds. So as you can see here, it says that we have 28 seconds of Crusade. That does go for Avenging Wrath as well. Holy Wrath, since it's percentage, it didn't get a buff or a nerf anywhere. So really no one's using it still. Honor talents. I go Gladiator's Medallion because of the fact that I'm a Blood Elf. I need it. You can run Relentless if you're an Orc and such. If you're Alliance and you're Human, Relentless. Awesome. Reinforced Armor is your base talent you'll be going for in the Honor. Sparring, of course, if you're facing melee. Now this tree, definitely situational. Unbound Freedom is great for trying to chase down, like, say, hunters or shaman or druids who can get away from you and they try rooting you or slowing you and you can hit your freedom. You can keep up with them. Same thing with Law and Order. This is what I love to use when I just need to stick to a target who I know will run pretty quickly. Not necessarily a mage. A mage I would use Jurisdiction so that I can get the extra 10 yards on that stun so I don't have to get as close to them. If they don't have their blinks or their trinket, then stunning them so you can get up to them and smack them a little bit is great. Or throwing at a healer so you don't have to turn and run towards them and kind of give away your game plan, what you're doing. But all in all, in a BG scenario, I love Law and Order being able to stick with people. Especially since you're resetting Blade of Justice, you can keep that slow going all day long. In a BG scenario, Luminescence, love it. If you're going 3v3, might be something for you to take as well. Giving 20% of the healing you receive from other sources to allies within 20 yards. It's great. Cleansing Light, definitely if you're facing those assassin rogues and any DK really, you can cleanse those poisons and diseases off of you and allies within 15 yards. Great, great talent to use against them. And in 2v2 scenario, really Holy Ritual. Anytime you hit a blessing, you hit Bop, Blessing of Freedom, and such like that, you're going to give yourself a small heal, and then when it ends, another small heal. Great use. Vengeance Aura, still not really using it. 4% up to 4 stacks for 10 seconds. But realistically, Blessing of Sanctuary is still our go-to thing. Being able to throw that, remove stun, silent sphere, or horror on a friendly target, or pre-set up yourself is great. Seraphim's Blessing, we really don't use it. Lawbringer is still the go-to talent here. Judgment applies Lawbringer to initial target hit for 45 seconds. Casting Judgment again, 5% of their total health and damage. As holy damage, by the way. So still a great ability, that 5%. I mean, it hits pretty hard. And the higher the health pool, the higher it's going to hit. Divine Punisher, casting 2 consecutive judgments gives a 3rd holy power. It's awesome in theory, but that extra damage is pretty cool, and most of the time you don't want to overflow your damage. You're trying to build up anyway, so you don't want it to be a generator as well as the reason for your spending. I don't know, it sounds weird, but the 5% damage outweighs the 3 holy power you're generating. Hammer of Reckoning did get a slight buff because there was, of course, the 6% buff, but it gives you Avenging Wrath for 6 seconds, and it'll give you Crusade for 12 seconds. It's cool if you can get the stacks up. You know, it gives you that little burst for a minute, but ultimately I think that Lawbringer equals out a little more in the end. Alright guys, now that we got all that nonsense out of the way, let's go ahead and discuss our rotation. Now, our rotation goes on a priority system, and it basically means that there's certain moves that we want to use before any others. Now, typically there's 2 ways to begin your rotation. If you're going to open up on people and get a burst, a lot of people state that coming in using Wake of Ash, so you get the dot going Judge, then go into your rotation, that's going to maximize your damage output for how much damage you can put within that short time, because you do have the dot rolling since the beginning. So all you're doing is weaving in your generators, make sure you keep your judgment buff up, and then spin, spin, spin. What I like to do is come in and generate a little bit, you know, just like 3 points. That way I can hit my wings, hit Judge, hit them, and then go into the Wake of Ash rotation. I get that little bit of extra damage in the beginning, and with that bonus to our damage now, we are generating quite a bit more just from our generators alone. So it's going to be a scary opener when we walk in and all we've hit them with is Blade of Justice, and they're like, whoa, where'd 500 or 600k of my health go? Or if you killed someone with a spender earlier, where'd 1,000,000 damage just come from a ranged technique? It's great to see sometimes. Beautiful, beautiful damage we got. Alright, so let's discuss the priority system. Blade of Justice is your priority to be spending as long as you've used a spender last, because our weapon gives us 32% bonus damage to Blade of Justice after we cast a spender. So you'll do that, you'll hit with a spender, you get this glorious little buff up here, then Blade of Justice is your priority. You want to weave them together anytime you get spender into Blade of Justice. Now see, I got the free reset on Blade of Justice, but you want to spin that spender first so that you can hit it harder. And you want to keep Blade of Justice off of cooldown as much as possible, so you are not wasting those resets. I mean, as you're seeing in this rotation right here, how many times it reset almost instantly off of being on cooldown. It's a big damage boost. You keep them slowed if you're taking the slow talent, and it's hitting them for a lot of damage. Now we want to keep Judgment up at any time that we are looking to start spending. You don't have to throw Judgment out the minute it's up. It's, you know, mostly not a positive thing to do anyway, since it is only on a 8-second debuff for them. So there's about a 2-second window when you can't damage. And if you don't have spenders up, see, I hit it. I wasted half of the cooldown just trying to generate spenders. So you want to generate your holy power first, then hit with Judgment, and then start your spending rotation. You get it right off the bat. And look at that. I was able to weasel in, what, 3, 4 before it went off, instead of only getting off about 2. So you're trying to get off as many spenders within that Judgment window as possible. So a basic rotation would probably end up looking like this for me. Blade of Justice, Zeal, Judgment, Spend, Ash, into another spender, Blade of Justice, Spender, Zeal, Zeal, Judgment, Spender. Oh, free spenders. Look at all those. And I got all those off within that window. Now, to discuss what spender to use at what time. If there's 2 or more targets, definitely think about using your Divine Storm. It hits pretty hard. It's not as hard as your other techniques now, See, it's 344,000. This is 592 in a PvP scenario. You know, you're still hitting for less. Usually crits between 4 to 600,000. You know, 400 to 600,000 damage. But definitely, if there's 2 or more targets, use your Divine Storm. Now, your free procs on your Divine Purpose, you definitely want to use on your Justicar's Vengeance. There it is. Because Justicar's Vengeance currently hits about as hard as Templar's Verdict in a PvP scenario, and you're getting healed off of it. Also, definitely use it if you have them stunned. If they're stunned and you're using Justicar's Vengeance, then you're dealing 25% extra damage to that target, so Justicar's Vengeance becomes your priority on those free spenders. Don't just spend 5 Holy Power on it, because that is actually a loss in damage unless you need the heal. If you're taking damage and you're, you know, at 2/3 health and you want to keep nice and healthy and you're not going for the kill, you're not trying to burst them down at this given time, you're like, say you're waiting on wings to come back up or you're stunned and such, hit them with it. Go ahead. Do it so you can get all that health back, because 100% of the damage you deal is going towards your health pool. It's a good way to stay healthy, and since they did buff all our damage, our sustain on our health is quite high now with Justicar's Vengeance. It's scary. I've crit for 1.3 mil with the Templar, or with a Justicar's Vengeance 3 times in a row with Divine Purpose. I went from dead to full in the blink of an eye. It was amazing. So yeah, that's pretty much it on our rotations and stuff. The only thing I want to discuss differently is using Execution Sentence. Now, some people argue that Execution Sentence should be like a finisher that you use as like you're stunned, the target's trying to get away. Only issue with using it as a finisher is this. Notice how long it took for it to go off. It takes a full 6 seconds before it goes off. In PvP, I believe it's 5.2 seconds for me. But that's 5 seconds for that person to get off a heal, to have a healer notice that they're low on damage, and so forth and so on. I would much rather, if somebody like slows me and is trying to get away, to throw a Divine Storm at them. Because it might not hit as hard, but it's going to be instantaneous, and it does hit at a range. So if they only got, you know, 300, 400k health left, don't use Execution Sense to try to finish them off. Do a Divine Storm for that range. But I like doing Execution Sentence at the beginning of my rotation of my burst. Because I'll sit here, I'll open up, I'll get my 5 Holy Power, and I'll wait to show you. See, now what I'll do is I'll cast Execution Sentence, build up my Holy Power, judge, and then start bursting away. Because look at that. It goes off in the middle of your burst. So you're getting almost like a free Templar's Verdict within your swinging rotation. It's a big surprise if people aren't expecting that ES to go off. And they're like, whoa, that Templar's Verdict just smacked me for a lot. When essentially it's both of your moves. Also, real quickly, the way they change the spell animations, you know, at the beginning of Legion, is the damage isn't calculated until you hit them with the spell animation. So if you are casting Execution Sentence, you can throw it, and then you can judge any time before it hits to get the bonus damage. Now we hit him for what, 24 million on a normal hit with Execution Sentence. We'll go ahead and let that wear off. I'll throw just a regular Execution Sentence on him. Hopefully it doesn't crit. God damn it, it crit. Of course. Oh damn it, I just put Judgment on him. Oh well, it should wear off before. So I'll throw Execution Sentence. Judgment wore off. Please do not crit again. Please do not crit again. Thank you. As you notice, 15,000 damage on that one. So again, just to show it off, Execution Sentence, anytime during this window, judge them. And, well, that crit hit for 41,000 instead of the 30,000 earlier, just to show the difference. We'll try to get another normal one here real quick. Throw the hammer any given time. Please don't crit. Show the example. Thank you. 24,000 instead of, what was the last one? 15,000. That would have been, what, 3 ago? Just to bring up. Yeah, 15 million. Sorry. So that big increase there, the difference being within that window. You can throw it anytime it's going down. So that's about it for rotations and such, and how I use them. Hopefully this guide goes ahead and helps you. Be sure to play Ret Pally as a support character, guys. I know we hit hard now, but don't let your team down. We have so many beautiful abilities to keep up our friends and teammates, and if you're keeping them up, they're helping you. Whether they have a slow that you need, or a heal, or they have a stun to save you, if you help them, they're gonna help you. So again, hopefully this will help you guys out in any BG or arena that you're going into. Hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it for you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.